So I'm joined on the phone by Graham Fisher, who is the Chief Executive of Letchworth Garden City Heritage Foundation. Hello, Graham.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
We just had a pre-chat there, and there was a hysterical laughter when I first asked that question. Are you isolated at home like everybody?
Yeah, I'm working from home in sunny Braffing.
Oh, lovely. Oh, I love Braffing. It's a very, very lovely town to be isolated in.
It is, yes.
Although I hope you've got a good garden, because obviously you can't see much of it right now. Okay,
No.
The reason we're talking to you is there's an awful lot of really good things going on with Letchworth Garden City Heritage Foundation. You've got a lot of really great projects, and you've come on to tell us a little bit about those.
Sure, yes. We've been trying to work out a plan, really, for dealing with the kind of management, really, of coronavirus, and trying to sort of respond in a proactive way to meeting the needs of our community. So we're in a quite a kind of complicated position of being quite a significant landlord.
Okay.
So we have a lot of tenants who are shopkeepers, so the kind of local retail sector. We've got people in the industrial sector. We've got office tenants, and of course we've got residential tenants. So we've been trying to sort of work through some plans for each of those groups in terms of how we can best help them during what is undoubtedly a kind of unprecedented crisis, really, and obviously got worse by last night's announcement that effectively we're now in a lockdown scenario. So at the moment we've been able to confirm an announcement of a rent holiday for our small to medium-sized tenants in the town centre, so it's going to be a lot of the retailers but some other tenants, for the next 3 months, just to help them kind of work through what their kind of business survival strategy is going to be, how they can access the type of government support that's available, and hopefully, as time goes on, all of those things and the financial implications of them will become clearer. And what we want to do is to try and act now to make sure that, when this the virus is kind of managed and the crisis is over, people can bounce back as quickly as they possibly can. And then sort of turning to the community, we've now been able to pull together effectively a kind of community crisis support service. So working together with loads of organisations. I mean, I have to say, it kind of really has been exemplary the way that people have come together in Letchworth to try and coordinate stuff around supporting our residents. So we've been working with Settle and First Garden City Housing Association, with the council for Voluntary Services, with other partners like Independent Living Service. So everyone's really come together to try and make sure that, those people who are isolated have got access to shopping facilities and get their medication, but that they've also got somebody at the end of a phone. And at the weekend, we effectively launched a kind of new hotline telephone service that people in the town can actually access to be able to try and get that type of support. And that's kind of separate to what the government is doing around. You've probably heard of the 1.5 million people who are kind of into enforced isolation. So I think there's going to be some specialist community services put in place for them. But this is for those people who aren't in that kind of crisis self-isolation phase, but actually are lonely, isolated, and just can't get down to the supermarket, really.
That's fantastic. And we hear all these horror stories about people not self-distancing and going out into parks and stuff like that. And it's so nice to have that story that, you're making provision for people and everyone's coming together and working together. I mean, it's a positive news story, that, isn't it?
It is. It's just an incredible spirit, really. And I think we've all been enormously impressed by how much people have been willing to kind of roll their sleeves up, really, and kind of get practical things happening, at a time of unprecedented uncertainty and indeed fear. It's quite frightening for people. But, we've had our own staff kind of volunteering to man the helpline. We've had other organisations partnering up, kind of passing on resident details so we can kind of get information and support to them. So it's just an amazing effort, I have to say.
That's incredible.
Very proud of the town.
Absolutely, and so you should be. Now, it's important to remember also, though, that you're giving businesses this rent holiday for 3 months, etc. But of course, you rely on funding as well. So how are you coping with your funding mechanisms? It must be difficult for you too.
That's right. Well, our funding is their rent. So it's kind of as stark as that, really. We've taken quite, some people may say brave,
yes.
But we kind of thought, well, actually, we need to play our parts. And we recognise that, we are going to take a hit in our income during that period of time. And at the moment, so I've got a great team of people back at, all back at home at the moment. But our finance director and all the finance team, are literally redoing our entire budget now. And we're trying to sort of work out what the time scale is going to be. Because, if this goes on for 12 weeks, does it go on for 6 months? And then actually what is the bounce back period? Because things won't get back to, normal straight away. So we are unfortunately having to look at, models that look at a substantial decrease in our income over probably as long as the next 2-year period as a result of this, and we just have to be really prudent about that. We're still in the middle of doing that, so we don't know what the position's going to be. We don't really know enough about what the government support programme is going to offer us, whether we can, reclaim some of the cost of our staff that are not able to be occupied during this period. So I think at the moment there's just a lot of uncertainty, and what we're trying to do is to come up with some scenarios that we can kind of think, right, this is going to be a likely result. What do we need to do to be able to make sure the foundation is solid? But equally, we also fund other organisations. So we spend £500,000 a year grant aiding local organisations, local charities and voluntary services. And so we want to try and protect them as well, because many of them are in the front line of, homelessness or working with isolated older people. So it's a pretty complicated set of circumstances. We're just trying to juggle our way through, and I do mean literally juggle every morning. We meet every morning virtually now, and it does feel like we're just trying to kind of work our way through things carefully and make a judgment on quite tough calls.
Yeah, I can imagine for you looking after vulnerable people, etc., that it is really tough situation, and it's a movable thing, isn't it? It's so fluid at the moment. Like you say, it's changing every day. So if people want to, help in some way, they're sitting at home. Obviously, they can't come out physically and do things. How can they help you to achieve the targets that you're trying to achieve?
So if they're able to volunteer. And they can volunteer from home, so they don't need to go into a venue or go into a building to be able to do that. Then we're working with Team Herts, so we're encouraging people to register for volunteering as part of that process. And it really is just trying to get people to be quite lateral, because a lot of what we're trying to do at the moment is communicate and reach people. So if we've got digital programmers or web editors, people who might not think, oh, I'm a typical volunteer, you could actually just do, 6 hours of volunteering and probably help us sort out some kind of key bits of information or web content or social media content. So there's just a load of stuff, and it's not just us, charities across the whole of Hertfordshire would benefit from that kind of support. So really encouraging people who maybe have never thought about volunteering before, just to see if they could spend a bit of time putting some stuff back, because it will be really, really very valuable indeed. And then there's organisations looking for help around people able to staff helplines. And again, you can do that remotely now. Technology really helps to be able to push calls through to people's own phones. But it's the best place to start to do all of that is Team Herts.
The Team Herts volunteering website is thvolunteering.org.uk if you want to get involved there as well. And they can come over to your website as well and get news about what you're up to, which is important, at letchworth.com. You made it so easy for us, Graham. It's amazing. Thank you very much. Letchworth.com. Head over to that website, which is for Letchworth Garden City Heritage Foundation. Now, is there any message that you want to give personally to the citizens of Letchworth Garden City?
Yeah, follow the government advice. Don't be afraid. Don't be anxious. There's help available. Reach out. Don't feel people are on their own. I think that's one of the scary things of this virus. So make use of telephone helpline services. Make sure that you're actually able to reach out. And lastly, whilst you are being self-isolated, do make sure you go out and physically exercise. So we've got lots of wonderful green spaces in Letchworth, but use them carefully and make sure that you do so in self-distancing.
Is there a message that you want to give to the organisations you're working with and the people of Letchworth?
Just really a big thank you to everybody we've been working with, and I know this is true across the rest of Hertfordshire. You know, it is a real sterling effort, and it's important, I think, that at some point or other in the future we do recognise those people who have demonstrated incredible public service over these last couple of weeks, and we'll carry on doing that. You know, people working in the NHS, doctors and so on. I do think we need to make sure we treat them with respect and recognise the great effort that they've made for all of us.
Fantastic. Graham, thank you. So I know you're super busy at the moment, but I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
The hysterical laugh came back then.
Yeah, absolutely. We got it. You know, that's the best medicine, isn't it? It's just keep laughing and keep your spirits up. That's the most important thing, I think. Thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Community radio for North Herts. This is North Herts Radio.